I don't know if this is just me, but whenever I buy new rings, I feel like they just last me a few months and then all of a sudden they don't fit anymore for whatever reason. So I was getting to that point again where I had to go and buy some new rings because none of the rings in my current collection really fit me anymore. And so I was just scrolling, looking through my options, and I really didn't like any of them. None of them matched my style the way I wanted them to. And I was like, Heather, you know how to use wire. What are you doing? Make your own rings. So I made this. I cannot even put into words how much I adore this like magical fairy core set of rings. It is absolutely perfect and it was really easy to make. So I thought I would hop on here quick and give you a really fast tutorial on how you can make your own set of rings. And the great thing about this is because you're making it yourself, you can make sure that they fit your fingers perfectly. So before you start actually making the set of rings, you kind of want to get a general plan in your head, like how many rings do you want? How long do you want the chain to be? Where do you want the chain to be attaching to the rings? Do you want beads on the rings? And if you do want beads, then what color beads? Just think it through a little bit so that all the rings sort of synchronize and look good together once you're done. Right now in this video, I'm going to be making another set of 3 rings like this one here. So I'm going to start by making the pinky ring, and I'm using 18 gauge wire for all of these rings. And I'm going to start by taking this round pliers and making a loop right here on the end of the wire. And this step is the most important part of the rings. So whether you follow my design for the rest of the rings or if you make your own shape of the wire, it's important that you have this hook here at the very end so we can attach the chain. So make sure you have this on all of your rings regardless of what you do with the wire design afterwards. Now that I have this nice round circle here at the bottom, I'm going to make sort of a bend coming off of that. So I'm taking my round pliers again, and I'm going to use the wider part of the pliers, so more like down towards the base here, and I'm going to just grab my wire with the bottom of the pliers here and sort of tip it away from the hook, making this rounded bend. I'm then going to go down the wire a little bit and again grab it with my pliers, and I'm going to tip this back towards me. And now I'm going to make sure that I like how that looks and that it fits comfortably right onto my finger here, and that looks good to me. So then I'm going to be making the actual shape of the ring, and you can buy a ring measurement tool for this, but I just find random objects around my house that like kind of fit the size of my fingers. And I'm just going to hold my work down to the dowel here and wrap the wire securely around, and I'm just wrapping it around one time, bringing it back to the front like so. And then again, make sure it fits. I come back and I check to make sure it fits, honestly, after every single step. And now I'm going to cut my wire, leaving a bit of a tail so we can do some more shaping. And again, I'm just taking my round pliers. I'm going to grab the wire right here, and I'm going to twist it the opposite direction as this last one here. So I'm going this way. And now as I'm working on the rest of this ring, I'm being careful not to grab it like this and accidentally squish the ring itself. Instead, I'm kind of holding it in my thumb so it doesn't get bent. And then I'm going to follow the wire down a little ways, grab it with my pliers, and bend it back the other way. I'm going to trim some excess here. Okay, and then I'm going to take the top here and I'm going to create a bit of a spiral. So I'm making this loop like I did at the bottom, and I'm just going to kind of spiral this wire in towards the center here. That's the other thing, if you're deciding not to follow my design for these rings, make sure you have the ends somehow tucked away so they don't come back and poke you later, or kind of file them down so they aren't quite as sharp. I make sure it fits, I make sure it feels secure, like it's not going to go anywhere, and I also make sure I still have complete mobility of my hands. Although I do make quite long rings, I don't want them to ever interfere with my knuckles, so this is a perfect ring. So now I'm going to add the chain to the bottom of this ring, and I'm just using a very small lightweight chain here, and I'm going to kind of open up this bottom loop that we made originally. I'm just going to open it a little bit here, and I'm going to feed the first link of this chain right through the wire. If the chain is too thin to fit through the wire, then you can use a jump ring to secure it instead. And I'm just going to close this wire again so it doesn't go anywhere. So now we can start on the next ring, which is going to be for my middle finger, and I'm going to add a few beads to this one. So I'm going to be using some of these blues in here and then some of these purple beads as well. If you wanted to just go ahead and cut off a piece of wire before you start making this ring, that might be a lot easier. I prefer to leave it on the spool for as long as possible because I have poor judgment of how much wire I actually need. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to start by putting 2 beads onto my wire here and kind of sliding them away because I won't need them quite yet. And then I'm just going to make another loop down at the bottom here. And now I'm going to bring in my first bead. And then I'm going to kind of do the same thing as the last ring where I just grab some of the wire and sort of tip it in either direction. Then I'm going to bring in another bead. And again, I'm kind of going down the wire a ways, then tip it towards the opposite direction. And this time I am making the bend a little bit tighter so the beads can't slide around as easily. And what we're making here is the bottom half of the ring, so you can keep going as far up as you want to, but I really like the way this fits, so I'm then going to begin making the middle portion of my ring. And for that, I'm just using this lip gloss, and I'm just going to hold this down secure and wrap the wire. This time, I'm going to be wrapping around twice, and then make sure it fits nicely. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now, if you haven't already, you can go ahead and cut your wire, leaving a bit of a tail. And then I'm grabbing the wire and twisting it the opposite direction as this last fold here. So we're gonna go this way. And I just really take my time with this, making sure everything looks neat and well done. There's no extra bumps or creases in the wire. I'm going to bring in another bead. And then I'm just going to repeat that same process where I go a little ways down the wire and then tip it back towards itself. Just making those sort of like wave or snake-like shapes all the way up. And again, you can do any shape with the wire you want to. I just think this is pretty easy and I also like the way it turns out every time. So this is kind of a go-to for me. I am adding another bead. And I'm going to make another twist in the metal here, bringing it back towards me. And you can keep doing this as far as you want. I go about as far as I possibly can before it starts to actually hinder the movement of my fingers. Adding one last bead here. And you can also add as many beads to this as you want, of course. Now I'm going to finish this off by adding a little spiral to the top. So I'm going to trim some of this wire. Tipping this wire back up. I'm then going to grab the end and sort of spiral it down towards the ring. I'm sort of tucking that loose end up into the spiral and making sure that there's no sharp points sticking out. So now that I'm happy with it, I'm just going to try it on again. Okay, there it is, looking absolutely wonderful, if I may say so. It kind of reminds me of atoms or maybe like a squid. So then I'm gonna bring my pinky ring back in here. So we can take this chain, drape it along my hand, and sort of decide where I want it to attach to the next ring. I want it to be long enough that the chain will sort of drape along my hand, but not so long that it'll get stuck on anything, and also not so short that I can't move my hand well anymore. So I'm gonna estimate it for about that much chain. I'm going to go ahead and open up this loop at the bottom. And again, just feed the wire right through one of these chain links. That is absolutely perfect. So now I can go ahead and close up this ring. Now we've got these 2 rings with this little chain attached between it, and this on its own would be really cute, but I'm going to make one more ring for my thumb so we can have a good set of 3. This ring is going to be almost identical to the first ring we made, so I'm just going to start with a little loop at the bottom. Again, just very slowly making sure it's a nice perfect circle. I'm sure you can already guess what I'm going to do next, but I'm going down the wire a little bit and I'm just going to bend it. And that looks pretty good to me. So then I'm going to go ahead and use this glue stick and I'm going to wrap the wire around just one time. And if you need the ring to be more secure, you can definitely wrap it around more than just once. I'm going to cut my wire. And again, I'm going to grab it with the round pliers and twist it the opposite direction as this last little fold here. So I'm going this way. And then I'm going to bring it back, and then I'm going to bring it straight up, like so, trim some of this excess, and I'm going to create another round loop right here at the top, like so. I'm going to bring in my other ring now so we can measure for the chain. Again, I'm just draping it so it's not too long, but I still have mobility in my hand, and it makes this nice little shape. So I'm thinking we'll do about that much. And I'm going to open this loop again. I'm just feeding the wire right through the chain link. Going to then twist this closed and pinch it to make sure it's super secure. And then the last thing we have to do is just cut the chain. And there it is, the finished product. It looks so good. My favorite thing about this is it looks completely out of this world, like some impractical jewelry piece that some fantasy character would be wearing, but it's actually really practical and quite functional. Like, I have full mobility of my hands. This chain really doesn't get in the way because I didn't cut it too long. The rings fit me perfectly because they're custom made. Like, you can wear this sort of thing every single day. It doesn't get in the way. So that is my favorite thing about these rings, along with the countless opportunities to alter these and make them your own just by bending the metal in different ways or adding different beads. If you decide to make your own set of rings, please tag me in any pictures you post so I can see your own variant of these rings. I am so excited to see what you come up with. If you enjoyed this video or found it at all helpful, then please like and subscribe. This is a great accessory for people who talk with their hands. I like this. Alright, I will see you again in a few days. Thank you so much for being here and for your continuous support. I am so grateful for you.